Hey guys, it's Dennis here with Revog Games. I'm joined by
Joshua Weyers, all the way in South Africa.
yes, and we're actually doing our Halo review. Not Halo the game, but Halo the TV series, which it's been
Yes.
kind of a long time coming. People have wanted a Halo movie since, the first Halo hit big on the Xbox. There's been rumors Peter Jackson was producing, Neil Blomkamp was going to direct it, then that fell through. We've seen some live action versions of Halo in small forms. We've seen them in commercials. Neil Blomkamp himself had done some live action commercials. There's been web series as well. But this is the first foray into kind of a bigger budget. I think the per episode cost is around $10 million for
Don't
for
tell
this
me
show.
that. Don't
That's
say
what it is. Originally, it was going to be on Showtime, and then it got moved to Paramount
Sometimes it
Plus.
doesn't look like that, Dennis. Sometimes it doesn't look like $10 million an
Yeah,
episode.
it's getting. They're pushing it very hard on Paramount Plus, which it got renewed for a second season. But it's finally here. Just my general thoughts, and I'll toss it over to you. Is that it was better than I expected because my expectations weren't very high. If anyone had paid attention to our podcast, I had mentioned before my issues with the trailer, but it's not as good as it could be. Like, there's a lot of stuff that they're leaving on the table, or they just changed for at least so far. It's only one episode, so I can't say for sure because maybe they'll wow me later. For no reason, certain things are changed. So, anyways, what's your general thoughts?
General thoughts are, well, I think I did have higher expectations for this. And I look back and I remember we spoke about it and you were a bit iffy about the CGI.
Yes.
And I was like, no,
Yes.
I think it'll be fine. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, Dennis was right. Dennis was definitely right. It wasn't horrible CGI, but I
No.
can tell you it's definitely not $10 million an episode CGI. Like, some of the stuff looks great. Like, I knew the exposition shots. I think I'm using the wrong term, but yeah.
No. Exposition is when you're telling the story, like details of a story that are not. You're establishing shot.
Establishing shot. Thank you.
Yeah.
God damn. Wow. The establishing shots were good. Like, I knew that because of the trailer we saw a while back, where I was like, oh, they look like they're doing landscape really well. And I think that they still did that pretty well in this series. Like, everything, like space looked good. The buildings, everything, that kind of stuff looked good. Spaceships look good. The aliens, not so. Here's the thing. In that first fight sequence, I do like that they gave you like here's a first person view, because it's a video game. Like, they did that in like the old Doom movie as well. I thought that was really cool. They give us that little bit, but like, I randomly got a text during that moment, so I just hit pause and I looked up and actually just I know it's not. I know I shouldn't like dissect it by frame because it's not the way it should be perceived. But it looked like a PS3 game, man. Like, I mean, yeah, sure. When it's all fast and motion and there's blur on it and everything's moving, you don't notice it too much. But some of the aliens, they didn't look too. Look, the way they looked fine, but most of the animations of the Spartans and the aliens threw me off a little bit. Like, when the Spartans drop in for the first time, I was so pumped. I was like, oh, this is gonna be so epic. And then they land. It's just this little poof of like fucking sand, and I'm like, I was like, they just dropped from a fucking plane.
Yeah.
I'm surely there's more of an impact than just poop. Like, they just landed on the ground. I was like, are you kidding me? And there's a scene where some dude gets his leg blown off, and it just looks like someone photoshopped the leg off, like straight up. Like, it's no depth. It's just, I mean, you only see it for a second, but still, it's a second burnt into my mind where I'm like, look, that looked fucking horrible. Like, then it's like I'm glad that they got kind of gory, because the first like bullet that I saw of those like kids getting shot at, they're shooting things and the things are blowing up. They shoot a kid, the kid gets thrown against like a tree, but he's still like, I mean, he's dead, but he looks fine. I was like, they shot a rock and it blew it to smithereens. This kid should have a hole in his chest or something, Anyways, that was my mental complaint. But then as it moved on, I saw gore. This dude had his like head split open and it was gory, but it didn't look real. And I know it's like, how real do you want the gore? You know what I mean? Does it really matter? It's like, well, I don't want to have my immersion broken. you know. And that in that beginning fight scene for me at least, even though I'd say it was cool, my immersion, I was taken out of it a lot. Like with the scenes of just like the Spartans running around and jumping, some of it looks cool, but it doesn't feel like a TV show or a movie. It feels like a next gen game. Like it looks better than like some of the stuff looks better than like PS5 graphic games, but I don't know. It still feels like a game sometimes.
Well, that's the thing is, and you had mentioned before my reservations watching the trailer, and they kind of came true. Let me start off with the good stuff, okay? One, yeah. I did like that it was like the violence was R-rated. Once the kids started blowing up, and like I was like, oh, cool. Like they're not gonna PG-13 this thing, you know? Yeah. We're gonna get like some, I don't know about like sex or nudity or whatever, probably not, but there definitely the violence is going to be a little more hardcore. Maybe not like, you know, it's not going to be super bloody or whatever, but it's definitely not, it's not like PG-13. Yeah. Now, the second thing I liked was all the stuff with the people and the world building and being able to see all the people in Madrigal and seeing them. It looked good. Everything was solid. It's when they started mixing the CG of the Covenant,
yeah,
with the people. It was like, okay, well, here's people that I know like are solid and real. And look, I know it's CG. We watch CG all the time, but because it looks so digital and clean, it just didn't. It didn't mix well for me.
And was something, the Mandalorian's budget? Because if you compare it to the Mandalorian, I don't know what their budget was, but like we have the means and technology to do good CGI.
I think the problem is that they're trying to put so much in there, right? So like the Mandalorian, they're not. A lot of the CG is like one character. It's like one character here, one character there. And this one, they're like, okay, here's like, you know, a bunch of elites here fighting. And then like, so they had to spend a lot of time and money just doing that. Anyways, and then also, like you mentioned, the establishing shots and the ships and the worlds and all that stuff. The costumes, I think could use some work. They have the right look in terms of like design, the guns as well. But there's a very lightness to them in terms of like, okay, that looks like they're wearing, not looks like, the way they move, it's like it's, you can tell it's like, oh, that's just like, what do they call it, polyurethane or whatever that plastic, that light plastic that people use to make costumes out of. There's no kind of heft to it, right? Like it's supposed to be, what did he say, titanium alloy or whatever? Like it's supposed to be this heavy... You know, the way they move, the way, you know, it doesn't feel like that.
I think the only time it felt heavy or it moved like that was in the scene where he was walking in and out, where the girl was being held on the spaceship. And then the only reason it had that weight was because they put in the sound effect of his footsteps being really fucking loud. Like almost obnoxiously loud, but at least it gave the feeling of heaviness. Whereas you're right, when you saw all the other Spartans, it just... Also, like I said, it was very easy to tell when they were using real people and straight up like full CGI Spartans. And I don't mean like a mixture of practical effects and CGI. I mean full CGI. I think they could have used more practical effects. Look, I do have a lot of gripes about this, so I do want to say the two main good things is like, look, I didn't like that beginning fight scene. The CGI is terrible. It looked all over the place. But towards the end of the show, I got really into it. And I think that's because the story and acting carried it for me. Like the acting is all around pretty solid, pretty stable. I didn't see any bad acting. I think I saw a little bit of lazy acting, if I'm honest. And as an actor, I feel like I can say that because I know what that's like. But all around, pretty damn solid. So the actors do a good job of keeping me invested in what they're saying, and they're feeling those things, and I'm right there with them. And the story's pretty good, like the elements of mystery, and it's like the way they're going about the story and how they're unraveling it. I'm really there for it. It's just unfortunate that the CGI isn't there. Like I feel like even the actors involved, I feel like they maybe thought the CGI would have been better, or I feel like they relied too much on CGI, where it's like it's always that thing of like when you're on a film set, you know, people are like, oh, we'll fix it in post. You know what I mean? They always say, oh, we'll fix it in post. And I feel like they probably said that a lot on set. You know what I mean? Like I just think they relied a little bit too much on the CGI, or I think their problem was and this is usually an issue on like lower budget sci-fi feature films where you hire a CGI studio and then you, the director, doesn't communicate clearly with the CGI studio. So it's like all the CGI stuff on its own looks great, but it doesn't integrate well with the live action stuff you filmed. And I think that could have been a communication issue. Maybe it's like their first time they're working together. I don't know what the situation was. I just know, and like you said, I just know they could have done a better job on that. But story-wise, I'm pretty interested. I would have liked to see at least one super realistic weapon. Well, not super realistic. Sorry, super. Well, looking like from the game, like they looked close. You know, they looked close enough, I'd say. But I would have liked to have like just one gun in there that looks straight up like it's from the game. You know what I mean? That would have been nice. They took a bit of liberties with the armor, like you said as well. I'm invested in the story. I'm interested to see where this goes. I can't believe that they already have a season 2 lined up for it, but I suppose
it's already all been greenlit. I don't know if it's because of they already invested the costs into costumes and everything else.
Like that would make sense, you know.
And also remember, they're really trying to push Paramount Plus, right? Paramount Plus has all the Star Treks, right? It has Discovery, Picard.
But it needs a flagship. Like it needs like a flagship hit show that's new. Well, Picard's semi-new, but you know what I mean.
But like it has the Star Trek thing, and so that's why I think for them they think Halo's a good investment because it's like it's adjacent to Star Trek.
I mean, the Star Trek thing is great, but like even with the newest Star Trek, the first 4 seasons are still on Netflix. You know what I mean? Yeah. I know that they have it now, but like it's not like it's theirs now, you know. But they need something that's their own, you know.
Yeah.
Like, them, I think so. I understand that as well.
So me, I'm kind of mixed on the story and characters because it's like one I had already tweeted this out was I don't know if I'll ever get used to hearing Pablo Schreiber's voice as Master Chief just because everyone knows what Master Chief's voice is. So they did hire Jen Taylor to do the voice for Cortana. But, you know, and then they also want to show the face, which they showed, you know, pretty much, you know, at the end, they were like, there's no reason why he should have his helmet off at the end, but it's purely because it's like, well, the actor's not going to be like, he doesn't want to like act in this show if he's not going to show his face, you know?
But also like I do get like how story-wise it was a show of good faith to the teenager. Like
but then after that he didn't put his helmet back on.
You know?
He didn't put his helmet. I understand that part in the story, but like also, later,
like,
he's like doing the ship. Like he's like,
anyways, get your money, man. Get your money because if he was masked up the whole time, he would literally have been paid as a voiceover actor, you know, like or a mocap actor or something. And no harm in that, but it's not nearly as much pay as when you start showing your face.
So one thing is with the story. Okay, I'm gonna, you know, obviously it's the first episode, so I can't judge it too harshly. I'm just wondering, and maybe towards the end because of how this episode ended with Master Chief running off with what's her name, Kwan Ha. That maybe it will go that route, but like Halo to me, and I didn't play Halo 5 Guardians. But I've played all the other ones. I played 1, 2, 3, 4, Infinite, Reach, and whatchamacallit?
You ever play Spartan Assault?
I didn't play Spartan Assault. No.
Top down one.
Yeah. What am I? ODST. I played ODST. I played Halo. So the whole kind of feeling of Halo is Master Chief by himself with Cortana in his ear, being a badass. And doing everything himself. Like, obviously, you can play co-op or whatever, but in co-op, that doesn't play into the story, right? Co-op is just so you and your friend can play.
Master Chief and being a badass. It's exactly that. Which is why I was still so disappointed about his entrance, man. Yes. Like, it could have been so badass.
I thought it was going to be badass, and then it was like, it was okay. It was fine, but, like, I thought it was going to be... First of all, yes, I thought they were going to kick in the Halo theme, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when you play the game and a badass scene is about to happen where you're gonna
Yeah.
fight a boss or a bunch of enemies. The theme song kicks in high
Or
gear.
at least give us one of those. Oh,
Well, they had that
like
in
at
the.
least give us one of those. You
They
know.
had that. In,
I
they
don't.
had a remixed version of the theme in for the whatchamacallit, the
I feel like
intro.
their CGI. I was gonna say, I feel like their CGI budget went straight into that intro, man. And that looked great. That intro looked great, but I was the rest, man. Oof.
So,
I don't know.
but yeah, so maybe that's what's gonna happen now that they're gonna pull a Mandalorian, where now it's Master Chief taking care of this girl, you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. It's
I just hope we get way more badass moments because, like you said,
it's Joel and
Halo's about
Joel and
Joel and
Ellie.
Ellie. Yeah.
Ellie. It's Logan and what's her name in
Not
Logan.
11. Damn, what was her name
Yeah.
again?
Well, you have that too. Hopper and 11.
Yeah.
Like, are we going down that
That's the
route
thing.
again? Anyways, so yeah, I kind of mixed things. Also, the villain. I don't, because I know I think you've only played a couple of the Halo games, but like,
Yeah. I only made like the Halo I played the most. I think was Halo 4.
okay, so I don't
Yeah.
understand this human villain that's like integrated into the Covenant and whatchamacallit, what are they called?
Yeah.
I'm blanking on their names.
Man, I will say what right off the bat though, Shabana Azmi, the person who plays Admiral Margaret Parangoski, I really hated her, and then I had to remind myself, oh, that means she's a really good actress because she's clearly not supposed to be liked in this. I was like, man, like just let why be so controlling? And I was like, of course, it's her job, that's her character, you know.
Mhm.
Like when characters get to me like that, that's how I know that they're like done well, at least, you know what I mean? Like if they
Mhm.
fucking get on my nerves like that. um I mean, I'm interested. Like, I want to see where it's going. I went in with high hopes. I was a little bit disappointed. I started getting into it towards the end. But here's the thing: it reminds me of like of CW shows. You know, not that CW shows are bad, but like they often have like really good storylines, but then cringe acting and cringe VFX.
Mhm.
Whereas this is like, for me at least, like I said, I don't know much of the story because we just saw episode 1, but as a TV show on its own, if you take Halo out of it, like if you take Halo never existed. In a world where
Mhm.
Halo had never existed, this would be a pretty good TV show. It's not great by any means, but it's like,
No.
it's like it's good. It's good. Like I mean, like I'd give it like a probably like a 7.7 if I
Mhm.
was IMDb, you know what I mean? If that was my IMDb review for it, I give it
Mhm.
a 7.7 if they were consistent like this, you know what I mean? Possibly get a higher score if they give me some real badass moments, you know? Um, I do think that the second season is them just trying to make sure that they can use all the assets that they've invested in, because if it was like the older system, like the older TV show system before new media, before streaming, it'd be a thing of like they'd wait to see how it does before they do a second season. This I don't think it would get a second season. You know what I mean? If
Mhm.
that was the case, but because they've already renewed the second season, it also gives them the chance to have that redemption, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Because
Well,
yeah, I
yeah.
think
We'll see how
acting
this
stable,
season goes.
story seems kind of good. You know, I I have to warm up to Pablo. I don't know how I
Mhm.
feel about him as Master Chief. I do have to. He's not bad by any means, but it's like here's the thing. Because I know he said in the world where Halo doesn't exist, it'd be a good TV show. Halo does exist. We live in the world where Halo does exist. That's the reality of the situation. And everybody playing this game, it's like when you read a book, you have a very distinct idea in your head as to what that person looks like. And then when
Mhm.
you see the movie version, you're like, oh my God,
Mhm.
he's this or they're that, And it's like, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know
Like,
if
I feel
I'm
like,
biased or affected because he was so good in The Wire, and I associate him with that character, and so then I can't see him as Master Chief.
mm,
You know what I mean? Like
okay,
his character,
for me, I
he
have
works
a
he
different
works on the
opinion.
docks. He's like a dock worker, that
Oh my God,
just
that's
is into
amazing.
shady stuff.
That's amazing.
So
I gotta watch that show, man. I'll tell you what though, it's just I feel horrible saying this because like I even feel I have a bad like feeling in my gut when I say this, but I just feel like his face doesn't suit Master Chief. Like he might like the thing is he does like when he did the face reveal, I was like, oh, that does look like someone like very like military-esque, or it seems like someone who's in the military for a while,
Mm-hmm.
but not Master Chief. You know, I'm like
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm expecting him to take off his mask and be this incredibly chiseled
Mm-hmm.
giant jawline, Giga Chad fucking guy. You know what I mean? Like, I was expecting like the like I was expecting someone like the guy from Punisher. I forget his name, but like you know what I mean? Like I
Oh,
just
John
expected,
Bernthal.
yeah, I just expected someone who had more of like a bit of like a mean look, like maybe not a mean look, but you know, like more of like a
Or rugged.
stoic, rugged
Yeah.
vibe. Yeah, you know
Mm.
what I mean. But like, Master Chief is stoic as fuck. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I would have liked someone who's a bit more stoic. This guy seems cool as well, but and I guess within the storyline, it seems like he's discovering himself or having
Mm-hmm.
memories. You know what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah.
So he has that element of like, oh, I'm learning that I'm a human being with
Yeah.
feelings, which is interesting. It's like Master Chief going through puberty or something.
Yeah.
But um, you know what? Yeah, I'm optimistic to see where the story goes. Every single time I was invested when they weren't is when they weren't fighting. Every single time there was any action, immediately out of like immersion was dropped. For me though, that was me personally. But whenever it's just two people talking face to face,
Mm-hmm.
I'm there, man. Like not like heavily. I'm not like sitting. I'm not like this isn't Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? This is
No.
like we're not going to be talking about this every single week for the next couple years. It's cool. You know?
Yeah, it's a fun, entertaining watch. As a Halo fan, fun seeing it. I guess maybe not on the big screen, but on
Yeah.
the
If it
the,
was a
the
movie, it'd be
small
a B
screen.
movie. You know? Yeah.
I'm just, I want to
Yeah.
see hopefully the CGI and action improve. Hopefully, story, gets a little more detail. I will say there were,
Mm.
some things that you see in it. You're like the whole like when Master Chief lands and he kills the elites, and then what was it, the girl's father's name, Jinha or whatever. He sees
Yeah.
Master Chief, gives him the little nod. Mm. He's like,
Yeah. It's
yes.
like, yeah, we're on the same side, buddy.
I was like, all right. Also, this is one thing that really bothered me because it was supposed to be this cool moment, and it could have been, but like I got thrown off. Was so there's a part when Master Chief, like, to turn the tide, he grabs the huge machine gun and starts like mowing down the elite or the
Yeah.
Covenant. And it was like, that was cool, except for that weapon is not their weapon. That was like from the Madrigal's like resistance army or whatever, that was like off of a Jeep or whatever the hell. And he picked it off the ground. And when they had it, they were mowing down nobody with that thing. You know what I mean? It's the same weapon.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
Him
Yeah.
holding it has no difference, no bearing on the effectiveness of
Yeah.
of the weapon versus when they were shooting it off of the back of their vehicle. So
That's so
Um,
true. Like I noticed that as well. Like when the insurgents or when they were shooting them, you could literally just see the bullets like they
just
were all
bouncing
Superman.
off.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were just Superman. You know what I mean? They're just like flick. It was so weird, and it's like all the bullets just hit their armor. None of the bullets hit their face. You know what I mean? They were just like, they just stood there with no fear. You know what I mean? So I get that it was to make like the Spartans look more epic and cool, but like
Yeah.
Spartans are epic and cool. You don't have to make them look that way.
Yeah,
Man,
and
I'm just so hung up on that anticlimactic fucking superhero landing because they built up to it. Like the reason why you're expecting it is because it's like it's a build.
the music
They're-
needed the
Yeah.
theme song should have kicked in, and it should have been Master Chief by himself, no team, and he should have like you said, the landing should have made a much bigger impact.
Mhm.
And yeah, so yeah, like I said,
There was this one scene, and this is once again I refer to the animation because some of the characters I wouldn't say they didn't look horrible, they didn't look bad for CGI. You know what I mean? Like when the Spartans are CGI, they look real when they're standing still. It's only when they're moving that you're like, oh, that's CGI, because they didn't even mocap it. You know what I mean? they clearly animate, like they did the CGI animation themselves, which is difficult to do, and I take my hats off to whoever had to animate that digitally. But because they didn't do any mocap, there's no momentum. Like there are these scenes where they were doing like front, like this one of the Spartans did a front flip onto a car,
Yeah,
and he
I
just
saw. I remember
landed
that.
perfect. He just landed perfectly. The momentum didn't carry over. The car didn't move.
Mhm.
Nothing. Like they literally could have added a little slight bit of screen shake, and it would have been more believable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it just wasn't. It seemed like gravity just didn't apply to them. They like gently like did a front flip and gently landed on like what. Like, does gravity not apply to these Spartans? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
man, like if they're heavy, they're walking tanks,
Well,
man.
that's the
I want
thing
to
is
see.
like when
Yeah.
they walk and move, it doesn't feel like
Mm,
those are like heavy suits, you know. Anyways,
exactly. I mean, if they do a
uh,
front flip and jump in a car and the car doesn't even dent, then what are they made out of? Air?
yeah,
You know?
yeah. Another issue I had was you had uh Kwan Ha kind of like after she's imprisoned, I guess, by the
Mm.
USNC, and not being able to, or sorry, she starts like joking around with Master Chief, um,
Yeah.
which is weird because like her father just got like brutally killed in front of her, and her whole group of, it wasn't even like, oh, her father died and she's got like people to comfort her or something like that. Like her whole village or town or whatever is all dead. Everyone she grew up with, her like childhood friends, her father, her, I'm sure like a lot of people who meant a lot to her, they all died. They're all gone. And she's like joking about food and you know what I mean? Like I just don't see it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that quickly? No.
We all deal with grief differently, but not. That's how psychopaths deal with grief. Oh, I'm over it. I've
Yeah.
gone through. I've dealt with all the grief. Time to eat.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I
I
don't
thought
know.
that was
Like,
a
yeah,
bit
that was a little. It was
well,
a
a bit
little
off.
immersion breaking as well, I suppose.
Yeah.
Mm. I mean, though, like I said, though, overall, I did enjoy it. Like, I think a 7.7 might be a bit reaching for me, but it's a solid 7.5. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? At least for me, I think. Though, like, if you could look past the CGI at least, you know, because it's
Mhm.
not bad. The thing is, as someone who enjoys the Halo series but hasn't played much of the games, so I don't know the lore. I've played a couple of the. I've actually played a lot of the Halo games. I just never like played the storyline. You know, it's always like, hey, you're hopping over to a friend, you're doing the co-op, or you're
Mhm.
doing multiplayer. You know what I mean? You know, so I never really got much of the story. So I don't know if there's like any things that like that they're breaking, like where you said it's, or even like if they're using wrong weapons or wrong tools, and I don't think that they'll
Well, the
go that
weapons
far, but
look game accurate, at least from what I
they
saw.
look fair.
Like
They look
like the
fairly accurate.
like the
You
assault
know,
rifle, the
like
battle
they're
rifle,
close enough. They're close enough. Like the
even the
sniper
machine
looks
gun he
very
picks up,
similar.
which is
Hmm.
weird because that's supposed to be on the Warthog, but then he got it off of a random Madrigal
Yeah.
vehicle.
The energy swords looked cool until they
Yeah.
went through a human body. Then they looked fucking horrible.
Well, also they didn't have any weight to them. You know what I mean? Like it just, I don't
Hmm.
know. Uh, yeah, there's a
Well, I mean, I
lot of
guess the
like,
energy, but still, even like when the
no, but I
Shin
mean, if
Ha
you
got
do,
stabbed, there was no blood.
yes,
Like,
not only
well,
that, but
I guess it's
there's
burn. I guess it's
movement.
burning.
There should
Yeah,
be
true.
movement and feeling, and so
Mm.
who
Yeah,
knows?
like when I just didn't. I don't know. It just felt weird when that first kid got like stabbed against the door when he was trying to like get in. You know, the
Hmm.
first time you see like the energy blade kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, I mean, look, I am definitely gonna watch the rest of the series, but that's only because of like I want to know where it's gonna go, you know, and I just hope that they nail some action scenes where it's like less CGI heavy and maybe a bit more practically involved.
Hmm.
Like that would be nice. Like I want to see Master Chief be an unstoppable badass, you know.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
want like I that's what I want, man. I want like a good like five like I just want a 5 minute scene of him being badass on his own, you know? Like literally the intro to Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
That intro level, you know?
Yeah.
I felt like a badass playing that level.
Besides the look of the armor and the weapons being game accurate, they include the sounds, the recharging the shield and everything.
Hmm.
Um, getting
I do like the way the shields looked when they were getting like hit or like hit by bullets or they were getting cut by the energy blades.
Mm-hmm.
Like they added that in, which was very similar to the game. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how much other things we're gonna get from the game. You know what I mean? The grapple hook is very new, so I don't think we're
Yeah.
gonna get that. But that would still be funny if they gave us like an Easter egg for that. I'm sure there's gonna be other things. You know what I mean? Like other Easter eggs here and there moving forward.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, I'd say, did I enjoy it? Yes. Could it have been better? Yes. Yeah, I'll watch the rest of the series. I'm a Halo fan. I want to see. It's not like, oh, it's so bad, like I can't watch it anymore, or it's so boring, like I don't need it. There's something there. It just needs to be polished.
I feel like I paid money to go to the comedy club, and I enjoyed the comedian, but I should have drank more. Like, does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I feel. Like, I don't feel like I wasted my money going to the comedy club. I
Mhm.
still had a good time. I just feel like maybe I could have had a better time. You know?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. That's the way I look at it. It's yeah. Like actually, you know what? I still feel like maybe a 7.5 is even too good. Like I guess I'd give it a 7. Like it's
Yeah.
entertaining. You know what I mean? It's look. There are some cringe, horrible shows out there that get huge cult followings that people love. So I do think that the show is going to do well
Mhm.
with regards to at least some people. You know? Yeah. I I hope the second season they up the CGI quality or like fix certain things, man. 'Cause
Mhm.
I don't know, I'm glad that they gave us those R-rated moments, but it's like I would rather they have not happened at all if they were gonna look that bad, you know?
Mhm.
Like the guy getting his leg blown off for it. It literally looks like they just photoshopped his leg out, you know?
Mhm.
And I don't know, and like some of it just looks kind of bad. Some of the animations look kind of bad. But then again, like I said, I personally am a fan of like the story that they're setting up because of the element of mystery. And I like it when games do this and TV shows do this. There's this thing of like, oh, the main character has discovered something, but he doesn't know what it is, and you don't know
Mhm.
what it is. So you have to watch the show to find out what
It's
it
the
is.
MacGuffin. It's the MacGuffin.
Yeah. I always like it when they do that, you know? In my opinion, it's the reason why Assassin's Creed did so well the first 2 or 3 games, because it was that underlying mystery of like, ooh, like you're trying to find out about like the precursors that before mankind showed up, and like it felt like something bigger than humanity was happening, you know? And I think that's what I like about the alien artifact is that it's like something big is happening, you know what I mean? And he drew pictures of it as a child, so it's like, did he get into contact with it when he was younger or something? Has he seen it before? Like, there's like, I have so many questions, and I think that's like, it's good when a TV show does that. If you're left with more questions at the end of the first episode, then they did a good job of getting you interested, I think, you know?
All right. That's our review of the first episode. We'll see how this season goes. Maybe we'll do some more reviews if you guys enjoy hearing our thoughts. Maybe we'll do episode recaps, or maybe we'll just review the bigger episodes, or do a season
Yeah.
finale review or something
Give
like
us
that.
a like and comment if you would
Yeah.
like that, because I would like to do that. I'd like
Yeah.
to give a little recap every episode, see how it goes.
So, all right. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Revog. You also subscribe to our podcast feed. That's on Spotify and Anchor.fm. You can follow me on Twitter @ThinkHero, Instagram Dennis.tzng. Josh, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitch at It's Thespis, all lowercase, no spaces. Should be a link in the description. And you guys can find me on the Revog Discord channel, where I'm more than happy to talk about video games anytime.
Cool. All right. Until next time, see you guys later.
Later.